Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. According to NPR, Israel announced on Sunday that Iran launched missiles targeting the country, marking the first such bombardment since a fragile ceasefire took effect in early April. The attack has significantly complicated international mediation efforts to end the conflict. Iran's state broadcaster confirmed the launch, and multiple explosions were reported in northern Israel. This escalation followed an Israeli airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs earlier that day, which killed 2 people and wounded 20. Tehran had previously warned of retaliation if Israel struck Beirut, while Israel claimed its strike was in response to earlier fire from the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah. The flare-up comes amid ongoing diplomatic efforts, with Pakistan's interior minister visiting Iran to bridge gaps between Tehran and Washington, and officials from Egypt and Qatar discussing a potential agreement. Meanwhile, geopolitical tensions remain high as Iran maintains control over the Strait of Hormuz and the U.S. continues its blockade of Iranian ports, impacting the global economy. According to Al Jazeera, the Italian Coast Guard has recovered 10 bodies after a boat carrying nearly 60 refugees and migrants capsized in the Mediterranean Sea. The vessel, which had departed from Libya, overturned approximately 45 nautical miles, 83 kilometers east-southeast of Malta. A fishing boat in the area managed to rescue 48 survivors from the water, while Italian patrol boats continue search and rescue operations coordinated by Maltese authorities. This incident is the latest tragedy in a deadly year for Mediterranean crossings. The United Nations International Organization for Migration, IOM, reports that at least 990 people have died or gone missing while attempting to reach Europe this year, following over 2,180 deaths in the previous year. The shipwreck coincides with controversial political developments in the European Union, where politicians have agreed in principle on establishing return hubs outside the EU to deport rejected asylum seekers. This proposal has sparked protests in transit nations like Libya, where hundreds of demonstrators recently gathered outside the UN Refugee Agency in Tripoli to protest the potential settlement of undocumented migrants. According to a report by Al Jazeera, Bolivia's legislature has passed a controversial law granting President Rodrigo Paz the authority to deploy military forces to clear road blockades set up by anti-government protesters. Passed in the Chamber of Deputies following an overnight debate, the legislation previously cleared the Senate and is expected to be signed into law by the president. For weeks, Bolivia has been gripped by massive demonstrations led by farmers, miners, and transportation unions protesting soaring inflation, stagnant wages, and the government's decision to scrap fuel subsidies. Protesters have established approximately 100 blockades across the country, which authorities claim have triggered severe food and medicine shortages. The newly passed law authorizes soldiers to use force against demonstrators and establishes a presumption of legality for their actions during conflicts. The center-right government, backed by the United States under the Trump administration's Shield of the Americas regional coalition, has defended the militaristic response, while critics express concern over potential human rights abuses. Pacific leaders attending the 2-day Island States Ocean Summit in Tokyo have emphasized that sustainable ocean management is a matter of basic survival for their nations. RNZ reports heads of state and ministers from several Pacific countries, including the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, and Palau, called on international partners for greater access to finance, technology, and scientific data. Marshall Islands President Dr. Hilda Heine highlighted that climate change and marine pollution are threatening her country's identity and future, making ocean planning essential. Similarly, Tuvalu Prime Minister Fileti Teo warned that the impacts of rising sea levels are a lived, daily reality, describing ocean planning as a survival framework. Palau President Suranjal Whips Jr. echoed these concerns, cautioning that global ocean governance is failing the most vulnerable as oceans change faster than island states can adapt. Summit organizers are encouraging these nations to establish national sustainable ocean planning and management frameworks to balance conservation with economic development. According to a report by Lionhe Zhaobao, a new study by Israeli researchers has revealed that B cells with immune memory against tumor cells can persist long-term in the lymph nodes of ovarian cancer patients. When these memory B cells encounter tumor cells again, they can quickly deploy targeted antibodies to bind with them. The study, conducted by the Weizmann Institute of Science and published in the journal Immunity, analyzed tumor samples and adjacent lymph nodes from 11 patients with high-grade serous ovarian cancer. Experiments showed that more than one-third of the antibodies produced by these memory B cells could strongly bind to ovarian cancer cells while showing weak binding to healthy cells, demonstrating high specificity. Furthermore, some antibodies target key proteins essential for cancer metastasis, making it difficult for cancer cells to evade them through mutation. While these memory B cells are normally suppressed by macrophages within the lymph nodes, researchers believe that learning to regulate their activity could pave the way for novel immunotherapies. This discovery could potentially expand the use of cancer immunotherapy from active treatment to the prevention of recurrence. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.